Guys, what's going on? Today, I'm doing the intro solo. Tyler had to run a little bit early, but we have Carl Murawski. You might know him as the guy on Instagram or YouTube that reviews and talks about workwear. He was a mechanic, turned to electrician, and then has moved on to his mission to find those high quality, buy it for life items that you help you look better, and live better. I actually reached out to Carl a little while ago about a pair of boots I wanted to buy. He was super honest about the particular brand I was talking about, gave me his, kind of unfiltered review, the good, the bad. And since then, I've had a lot of great conversations about high quality products. And, I've talked about it before, but I bought a really expensive pair of boots a little over a year ago. And it was this, oddly, it was this like ordeal for me. It was 30 something weeks to get them. I had to order them to a very particular size. They were expensive. And when I got them, I remember feeling as though, wow, this is a big turning point in terms of the way I invest into work boots. I know that sounds silly, but give this podcast a listen and hear the conversation, because there's a lot of relatables here to what we do. Whether you're in the trades, whether you're a business owner, or whether you're just in another industry, and maybe feel as though you're trying to sell a high quality product and constantly facing the competition that is producing lower quality product. If you're aiming to elevate your products with standout features, well, look no further than Andersen's folding out swing doors. These impressive doors can span up to 48 feet wide and reach up to 10 feet tall, creating a grand entrance that's sure to impress. The top hung system ensures smooth and easy operation, making installation and daily use a breeze. Plus, for those working in coastal areas, Andersen offers storm watch protection, providing peace of mind and durability against harsh weather conditions. With Andersen's folding outswing doors, visit Andersen website today to discover more about this product. If you're thinking about introducing software to your business, but you're worried that your team might struggle to get started, well, here's what you can do. You can sign up for Buildertrend. It's the leading construction management platform for premier builders, and designate a champion. What's a Buildertrend champion, you ask? Well, it's a member of your team that ensures every employee has the tools and resources they need to master the platform. Buildertrend supports your champion, trains them, encourages them so your company can onboard the software with ease under their guidance. When you have a Buildertrend champion, well, you're going to get a few things. You're going to get the most out of your investment. You're going to speed up daily processes and improve efficiency. You're going to give your team the best chance at reaching company goals, and you're going to drive business growth. Side story, I actually signed up for Buildertrend years ago and quit shortly after because I didn't have a Buildertrend champion. Visit buildertrend.com/champion to sign up for Buildertrend and start your champion and your team on their journey to success.
What's behind me?
But it looks so legit. Like every time you log on, I'm like, man, I really need to get my background fixed.
You just can't. Well, I did get a new washer and dryer. New to me.
Can't see it.
New used.
Mm-hmm.
New used.
What if
I redid my mom's laundry room, and I was like, "What are you gonna do with your old washer and dryer?" She's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna donate them." I was like, "Well, you're donating them to me."
Yeah, dude, I got an old Whirlpool, I think it is, that we've been dishwasher. We've been keeping going for about 30 years now. You know, it doesn't have any of that water saving stuff. It's loud as hell. It takes like 50 minutes, but you could put a full cake in there and it'll come out sparkling clean.
Yeah.
You really think it's 30 years old?
Oh, I'll bet you it is. Yeah, it's definitely from the 80s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all push buttons, like ratchet knob. You know what I mean? It's like solid state.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Dude, I think I said this on a recent podcast, but my wife is so anti like the new technology of appliances, and the washer dryer thing is like always, for whatever, like I don't do laundry. I have my laundry done, but I always like the way like the built-in Miele's look, front load, like they're super sleek looking. She goes, no, top load, simple. what are they called? Not Whirlpool.
Speed Queen.
Speed Queen.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like Speed Queen only. And it's the more and more I walk these like expensive ass homes, they all have them. Like, oh yeah,
Yep.
they last forever. They're
Yeah.
built well.
Yeah. Come to find out too, like a lot of these places are all these things are made in the same factory anyway. You know what I mean? And it's the
Right.
inverter that goes on most of them. So it's like you get these circuit board, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi enabled
It's
appliances, and it's like, do you really want to be married to your computer for 30 years? Like, I sure don't. So
It's crazy. Like it works. The moment it doesn't work, it's like Wi-Fi. It's like you take advantage of it. It's just working, then it doesn't work, and then the house goes into panic. And it's like,
yeah.
unplug the Wi-Fi, plug it back in. It's like I did it. Well, it's not working.
I don't know why, but our Wi-Fi stops working when they run the microwave.
Oh God.
So
How old's
like,
that microwave?
I don't know what it is, but it's like, so Rachel uses the Wi-Fi for work. I'm hardwired in, but she'll use the Wi-Fi for work. So the kids, whenever I'm doing a podcast, they don't understand. But I'll get text messages while we're recording, like, "Can we pop popcorn?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're good."
That's awesome.
That's amazing. What an interesting way to segue into this conversation today, Carl. You were a mechanic, then an electrician, and now, and maybe I'm simplifying, but I know you the best as a YouTuber that promotes great craft and buying. What is your slogan? It's basically not buy once, cry once, but it's
but that's kind of that's the spirit of it. Yeah, I mean, it's to own better and own less, or to buy better and live better. I mean, I've tried to put the live better in there more, because the more I talk about it, the more it seems like it's just consumerism, and it's like, I don't want to just promote buying stuff to buy stuff. Like, you got to get out there and live it. And, like I had COVID real bad. Like, I was in the ICU for a week and everything.
Holy
and I'm
shit.
like, I really, who gives a damn about any of these like leather jackets or boots or any of that stuff? I would have given up all of them to go and do some other stuff. So now that's sort of changed my mindset a little bit, where I'm like, look, this stuff is great and you're going to love it, but if you got to miss out on times with friends and family, it's not worth it. So just try to keep a little bit more grounded that way, because it just sometimes it can feel like you're just peddling stuff, you know what I mean? And I don't like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I get the sense, because I've read some of your reviews, I've watched some of your videos, you and I have chatted through DM, and you seem pretty genuine in terms of like, hey, this is what it is. Like, here's what's great about it. Here's what is not great about it. Or here's what's great, but this is what I don't like. Maybe it's just something generally about the company. And I think that is obviously it's the right way to go about what you're quote unquote promoting. And you're promoting, generally speaking, a lot of the stuff is more expensive. Like that's just, the nature of it. And it goes back to that buy once, cry once. And, and I was introduced to this world only maybe 2 years ago when I stumbled across Nick's boots. And that was one of the first times I had seen these, like, I will call them designer boots, like pop up on my Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I'm not spending $600. It actually wasn't even the money. It was the fact that it was like 32 weeks.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And it's funny because, there's that saying where it's like the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago and the second best time is today. And, and I kept looking at him like, dude, I can't wait 32 weeks. But then 32 weeks would go by and be like, man, I really wish I ordered them because I would have them now.
Right.
And this went on for like a year, and finally I ordered them, and I'll never forget. Like, I just at one point forgot that I ordered them, and then they just showed up in the mail, and I put them on, and at that point I had told a few people, and people were like, so I'm like, yeah, they're really fucking nice.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I've just got a pair of boots that I waited 2 years for. And you're right. You order it and you're like, oh man, I wish they were here now. And then you just sort of forget. And it's almost a little bit of a surprise when they finally come in. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. But then when you're outlaying, $700 or something like that, I mean, you kind of want to get your return on your investment pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
Or they better start throwing some interest in there, like extra laces or something. I don't know.
It's funny. I remember I wore them. I'm like, oh, I fucking hate that they look new. And then I didn't wear them, and I kept wearing I had these old shitty Red Wings that I was wearing. And I was like, I gotta dirty them up. I gotta like wear them by myself. and then show up on the job site in them. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was like one day it was pouring out and there was mud and we had to dig out, for a footing. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I get to wear my boots in.
Yep, yep. Well, there's a couple
No
of.
one's gonna know.
It's like when you have the guy with the brand new tool belt or the guy with the brand new like work. You know,
Hard
like you
hat,
could have, yeah, you could have one segment or like one thing that's new, but if it's all new, it's like, oh, that's the new guy. All right,
Yeah.
forget it, we got it. But when I got my Knicks, it was a while ago. I want to say it's like 2016 or 17. And it wasn't that long of a wait back then, but I was working on a rail job that we were doing. So the electrical contractor that I work for, we do big buildings and railroad and road work.
Oh, cool.
So I've never done any road stuff, but I've worked in buildings my whole life, and now doing some catenary and signal and stuff for the railroad, which is really cool. So we're standing there and we're on what they call trap rock. It's just drainage rock, sharp black stones. And I'm like dying because I'm standing in my old boots, which I used like in buildings, but it doesn't translate, right? So there's never an even surface to stand on or walk on. And I'm like, I got to get something because I'm just dying here. And of course, I went to YouTube. And at the time, there was this guy named Wrangler Star. Well, that's not his name, but his channel is Wrangler Star. I think his name's Cody. And he did a combination of
with
like
a K. It has to be with a K.
It might be. He did a comparison of White's boots and Nick's boots. And I had heard of White's, but I never heard of Nick's. And he was really happy with his Nick's. And I'm like, all right, well, it's $550, but I think it'll be worth it. And I remember like calling my wife, and people give me shit about this all the time. They're just like, what do you mean you had to like clear it with your wife that you were getting $500 boots? I'm like, well, don't you ever talk to your like spouse about expensive things that you might want to buy? I mean, like if she just ran out and spent $500 on a Louis Vuitton purse or whatever they cost, I might have an issue with it. So like, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting these boots. And she's like, yeah, well, I mean, if it's time to get some boots and you think are going to help, great. Because we talk about that stuff. So, but anyway, I got them. And, that first week was like murder because breaking those things in and all that leather and stuff. And I brought another pair of boots with me because I'm like halfway through, I just couldn't handle it. Right. And they're like 10-inch tall, composite toe, like built up. And it was about a month in. I was like, man, I can't wear anything else. And those are still my go-to. Like I'll test other boots and stuff like that. But that first pair, even so many later, like that's still my number one. So I think that $550 or whatever was well worth it if you break it down to each wear that I've gotten out of them.
It's funny when you talk about it like that, where it's cost per wear, because that's how my wife has justified buying expensive shoes. If you break it down, it's only like $1 per wear. I'm like, you know what my Converse cost me per wear? Like a cent, maybe.
Yep. Definitely.
But it's that first week, it's like you're breaking it in. But at least for me, like it wasn't. I had some boots. I had Red Wing, like one of the heritage ones, and I wore them for like 6 months, and every day my feet bled. And I think at the end of the day they were just too narrow. And this is what, like, I didn't know. I buy shoes, like I put them on, that if they fit, they fit. And this whole boot thing, like that was actually the other nerve-wracking thing, is like, it's like, are you sure you know your size? I'm like,
how are they fitting you for them? So
they have, there's a few options. You can get a trial set that they'll, like, you confirm your size and then you send them back and then they build them on that. But there's also some info in there. It's like, it basically says if you've worn this pair of boots, you should size down or something like that.
Right.
And but then it was like, are you normal width, slightly wide, narrow? I'm like,
see, I feel like that would prevent me from buying them because it's
that's
like,
what was
I just don't know.
me.
Like, I don't, anything of ski boots you go get fit for, like hours long process. Some types of like running shoes, right? Where it's like, okay, you buy the running shoe, you're meant to wear it. So if it doesn't fit you, you bring it back. We'll give you all of your money back. But like, that's an immediate purchase and you're not waiting 6 months for it. So I feel like the size thing, it's like, well, I don't know. I'm also in between sizes. So it's like, I guess the good thing about leather is it continues to stretch until it doesn't need to stretch any longer. But I still would be so nervous to be like, I'm going to put all this money and wait 6 months to get them, be like, shit, should have got the other
Yeah.
size.
Well, you know what though, when they do that fit thing with you, because that's what I did, and I don't think they do it anymore. To be fair, I don't think Nick's does that anymore. I think Frank's does.
I think you have to go if you're in Spokane.
Oh, can you go there and get fit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
they used to do it over the phone, and they'd send you a try-on pair, like you said, and then you get a phone call from somebody, and they'd be like, "So how do you feel? You know, like, is it pinching in one area or whatever?" I'm like, "I'm kind of depressed. I feel bad. Like, it's raining out." And
I ate a lot of salt last night. I feel like my feet are fatter today than they normally
bloated.
are.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
my
can't get
toe
over
ring's tight.
But oddly enough, like I'm like a 9.5 in everything, and in Nick's I was a 7 triple F, and I'm like,
Really?
come on, 7 triple F. Like I've never been a 7. What's a 7? But man, they fit perfect. And now I've ordered every other Nick's pair that I've bought in that same size, and they came out perfect. So
Yeah.
I mean, but to your point, I actually have a little visual. I don't know if this will help at all. So like this is a Nick's boot right here, and when we talk about like price per wear and why they cost so much. I mean, look at how much leather is actually inside of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, this heel stack here, this is their built up arch, which a lot of people really like. There's more leather in this sole and insole here than there is in most boots overall. But until you can really see it kind of bisected like that, it doesn't hit home. And when you see that versus something that costs half as much, it's like, oh, okay, now I know where the money went. It's sort of hidden within, because I bought a pair of Brahma boots from Walmart one time. We needed steel toe boots, and I didn't know that we needed steel toe boots. So I was like, shit, I'll run. Okay, I ran to Walmart real quick, and I just bought something. It was the worst day of my life. It was so bad. It was just like, it was as if I was standing directly on the ground. And then I finally cut those open. Come to find out, it's like a little foam insole, then what looked like manila folder material, and then the outsole. And I'm like, what is this? Like, no wonder it felt like I was standing on the ground. But that's where they save their money, where you can't see it. So it's not cheap because it's not cheap.
Yeah. Well, I think, two interesting points on the Nick stuff is I think it was when they started putting a big emphasis on their content, and they were showing all of the handmade aspect of it. And I was showing Tyler, I'm like, dude, look at this boot company. It's like they're nailing this stuff by hand. They're putting this together by hand. And now since then, like every boot manufacturer out there is showing the process, which, hey, rightfully so. What works, it works. But it was funny. I had learned about them, and I was in Spokane. And I nothing to do with, like, I hadn't looked it up, and I fly home and I'm like, hey, I came across these boots. Same. I showed my wife, and she's like, those are expensive. I'm like, I know, but they're handmade. They seem super nice. And it was like, oh, it looks like you can try them on. And it was like, oh, only at their facility. I wonder where their facility is. And I was like, son of a bitch. I was there yesterday. And then I just was like, all right, I'm just going to go for it and order the size. And I mean, they fit. Could they fit better? Maybe, but I probably would feel that way, just because I'm not fully confident that I know what my size is.
Yeah,
I feel like with the stuff, like I talked to Badger Tool Belts, Nick, Joel from Badger. So he was with Diamondback, and then he started Badger, and now like Occidental is somewhat acquiring them. But he's like, I mean, if you think about it, you break it down to something that's being handmade, like you wouldn't make any money selling those boots. Like you're probably not making that much money selling those boots for how much goes into them and how much the cost is, unless you start scaling that and can make more of them. Because like his one-off tool belts, even if you're selling them for $700, $1,000, like it's taking you more than a day to make that, plus all the materials. Right. What type of money are you actually making? So for him, it's like that, the one-off tool belts, yeah, that's great. That gets people in the door, but then they make their money on the stuff where it's like, yeah, we can produce this in volume, or semi-custom is where they end up making their money.
Yep. Well, I know that a pair of boots, and this has been confirmed by a couple of the PNW Pacific Northwest boot brands, costs about $250 depending on materials in the model to make. So that's their cost for making them, labor and materials. So when you consider that that's their cost, and then they're selling them for about double, and that's around average, right? I mean, 100% markup. you're already in it. The cost is more than most work boots cost retail.
Yeah,
And
right.
when you're buying through a retailer, it's already been marked up several times. And, there's a boot brand that Nick, you and I went back and forth a little bit about that, I did some kind of reverse engineering and found that they were paying about $22 to make their boot. And then they're selling for they're about like $139. So in a way, yeah, it's more expensive, but I think I'm getting a better deal anyway. You're buying directly from them, and you can talk to the person who was in charge of that production line or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of money, but again, there's a reason that people who have them swear by them. And it's like, when I was a mechanic and I realized that when I was buying good tools, it made a huge difference in my day-to-day life. And it was expensive, but I still have those tools.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I just inherited my uncle's toolbox. He had a garage long time ago, and he had this old Snap-on box. And he's like, "You want it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want it. You kidding me? Like, that's awesome." And, when you buy something, there's a good chance you're actually going to like hand it down. And to me, that's just, there's no better investment.
That's a great relation to your career as a mechanic, because I think about a lot of my friends went on to be mechanics, and the Snap-on obsession becomes borderline an issue, right? Like these guys are competing for biggest, nicest toolbox, spending, they got loans on these tools.
Oh yeah, they all finance them,
and it's crazy. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just finance it. I'll put it on the tab, no problem.
Oh, dude, they own you.
17% interest.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And they'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh, it's only $10 a week. What are you talking? It's fine. Here, you can have it right now." And you're like, "Oh, it's all shiny. Yeah, give it to me."
Yeah. Meanwhile, like I was a hobbyist mechanic forever, and I had some nice tools, but I mean, most of my stuff was either like Craftsman and if I needed something in a pinch, I'd get Harbor Freight, because it was like a one and done thing. If that impact socket blew up on me, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. You know what though? It's not as simple as it used to be. It used to be like Snap-on was great. Craftsman was always great. But then since they've been, I think they're owned by Stanley Black & Decker now.
I didn't even know if they were around.
Yeah, I think you can get
Craftsman at Sears back in the day.
But they're
like Sears, basically like lifetime warranty. You could bring anything back.
Yeah, you could cut it in half and bring it right back. They give you.
I used to bring tape measures back, just like tape measures beat. Just clip the end of it off. Like, get a new tape measure.
So funny story. you know the Fat Max tape measures everybody carries, right? So we usually have like a 16-footer at all times. 25 is just a little bit too much. So 16 is perfect for like an interior wireman. And so they're actually put together here in New Britain, Connecticut, which is like one town over. And my mother-in-law, that was her job when she came here from Poland. She was putting together Fat Max tape measures for 30 years and retired from that factory. So every now and then she would give me one, which I later found out that she would like take. And I'd be like laying out recessed lights or something. And I'd be like, at the end, I'm like, "It's only 14 feet. What the hell?" Well, yeah, because it was like a reject. So she was giving me all the rejects that didn't go out to their full length. And I'd be like, "What the hell?" And then one time she got me because she gave me one in metric. But I didn't realize, and I put it down. I thought I was having a stroke. I'm looking, I'm like, "What? This makes no sense." I'm like, it's a metric tape measure. But and then she would tell us about how, they would cheap out on the clock springs, or this mechanism was a little bit worse than it used to be, or whatever. And this quality fade that you see a lot of companies doing. And I got to tell you, man, it's a huge sore spot for me. And that's like kind of think at the core of my channel is like, you can no longer just go on brand name. Like channel locks are no longer channel locks, and Craftsman's no longer Craftsman. And there's so many brands, especially when they get bought up by a private equity firm or something, and they're just squeezing it dry for everything it's worth, and you can't trust anything anymore.
It's funny. I saw something recently. It was about a like a drugstore, and they were talking about toothpaste, and they had a picture of the shelf, and they said, "We're going to highlight all of the toothpaste based on what company it's owned by." And the entire shelf, with the exception of one bottom corner, was all owned by the same exact company.
Yeah. And if you talk to your dentist, they'll tell you they're still good. Like, it's fine. Don't spend more money for the flashy packaging.
You're right. It's like, and I think is it Burt's Bees, the lip balm? I think that forever was like the one you bought, and then apparently they got bought out and they changed it, and now it's not. But like to my eyes, it's the same thing. It's like, no,
the marketing's all the same.
They changed, they changed the chemicals, and what's interesting, I think related to our industry is what you said a minute ago is, they start changing like the clock spring and the tape measure. But when you're building a home, when you're building one, right? And you say, hey, if you spend, $100 more, you can get a nicer whatever, like faucet.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're building 1,000,000 homes a year, it's like, no, save the 100 on the faucet and just put cheap across. And you play this game of volume where it's like when you are producing so much product, those tiny little changes, end up making huge dollar, rewarding impacts to the business.
Yeah.
And that become like, I think that's where we see a lot of this consumerism, where it becomes an issue. They grow and they realize, hey, if I just make this tiny little tweak that maybe no one will notice, we'll make a bunch more money. Actually, no one does know. Like very few people notice.
Yeah, like are the the internals on your Kohler faucet or shower head, are they brass
That's
or
the
are they
worst.
plastic? Right? All that stuff. Did you buy it at Home Depot? Well, the same thing through a plumbing supply house is totally different on the inside. It's like I remember
that's so frustrating. Like tools,
I know. I hear you. Yep. I actually talked to the guy about I kind of cornered him, really. He was a little surprised at our shop one day because we go through more Milwaukee tools than anything. And we love the brand, but the guys are rough on them. So, I asked him one day, I'm like, hey, do you guys cheap out on your stuff the way Stanley Black & Decker will sell a different DeWalt tool to Home Depot versus the one you can get at Grainger or something? And he goes, no, there's several companies that do that offer their like home buyer brand or whatever for the big box stores. And then the real one that you can get, he said that Milwaukee doesn't do that supposedly. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take apart your drill or anything. I'll take your word for it. But I just think that's shady pool, man.
Yeah. I mean, like I remember DeWalt. We're throwing a lot of brand names around, so hopefully none of these guys want to sponsor this podcast.
One of my Milwaukee, I stopped using Milwaukee stuff because I didn't like the batteries, but like I seriously have one in my blower in my truck, and it just like from hanging on the blower, just the weight of it, the shell of the battery is just peeling off now. I'm like, what the hell?
Wow.
It's like one of those like huge batteries that's like $150 for the battery, and I'm like, it's just the shell's peeling off of it.
Jeez.
But
these days the battery is more expensive. I'm sorry, Nick.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, like, they would be the same shape physical drill, at the tool supply house and Home Depot. It would just be a different model number.
Yeah,
and I forget what it was. It was like it would have like an X or something in it, and be like, oh yeah, that one has AA batteries inside it. It's like,
right?
What?
Yeah, that one's meant for children.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But do you remember? I mean, you may be old enough to remember that DeWalt was like a more orangey yellow than the yellow it is now. Do you remember the old DeWalt tools? They were a little bit deeper yellow. And it's funny because every now and then on the job, you'll see one of those make an appearance and it's like, hey, look at that. Or if somebody comes out with their old like 9.6 volt Makita or something, these retro tools, but
the pistol grip drill.
Yeah, I still have one. The battery was like this long.
Yes,
yeah.
I put that thing through my dad's finger. I was trying to drill a piece of wood right through his fingernail.
They had a chuck, like a legit chuck on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd have you'd put the chuck key you tie it to your cord.
Yep. Right. So exactly.
So you didn't lose it. It had that little rubber thing.
Yeah, it would inevitably fall off.
Oh man, that's so fun.
Bringing you back.
Yeah.
We had a body man when I worked as a mechanic, and he actually took a snap-on screwdriver and then brazed 2 different size chuck keys to either side of it. And I don't know why, but he called it his Star Wars tool. And everybody would be like, can I borrow your Star Wars tool? And he's like, yeah, but you got to give it back. And I'm like, why doesn't somebody make this? He's like, I don't know. I'm going to sell it, make $1 million. So, if somebody listening sells that idea, you owe Jerry a little bit of money.
Why'd you get out of being a mechanic?
It was fun, but I was looking around at the guys who were there for a long time and, 25 years my senior, and they were making like $16 an hour. They were absolutely broken. You know what I mean? Like we weren't a very clean, nice shop. We were doing a lot of stuff outside on the ground in the snow and, just kind of bare work, you know what I mean? So if it were like a high end shop, maybe it would have been different, but no, I was just like, this is rough. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this into my 40s and 50s.
I think it's a broken industry. I had a friend of mine who worked in a high end shop, like I mean, super high end, like whistle clean shop, high end cars, a couple hundred thousand to over $1 million worth of cars, right? And it was the same thing. The pay, the way it was, the way they were paid was just they didn't have any opportunity for growth unless they
Right.
became a manager. And it's like, as a mechanic, being a manager is completely different. It's like
Sure.
some guys just like wrenching, and there was just no opportunity to really make a a bigger career out of it than quote unquote just a mechanic.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because there's so much technology with the auto industry now that you think it would be otherwise.
But that's the thing. It's like I think there's a couple things with that. Number one, the technology is so much of these cars is now all being fixed and repaired or modified by a computer. And the
Or
other
telling
side,
you what to do.
yeah, and or the other side of it, the computer is telling you here's step by step how to do it, and this is how long it takes. So based on us telling you how long it takes, this is how much money you will make.
Yeah. Yeah. Or guys who work piecework. I mean, you can
Yeah,
do that too and make a pretty good buck, but you're going to be hustling all the time.
That's
yeah,
what
You
one of
know?
my buddy does. He works for a forklift company, and basically, they bid out the jobs, how many hours they think it's going to take for the day. Customer signs off on that, and they make whatever they make, regardless of
Yeah.
when they get out. But he's like, most of the guys he works with, he said, they'll bid something for 8 hours, they'll get done at 6, and they'll go home. Or he's like, I'll bid something out at 8 and then try and squeeze another job in if I end up getting done sooner. And he makes good money, but he's just like hustling so much more than everyone
Mhm.
else.
Yeah, it just makes me nervous too. Do you want to know that the guy who did your brake job was just trying to get it done as fast as possible or as well as possible?
mm,
And that kind of makes me a little nervous. But yeah, there's not a lot of growth opportunity there. And we joke at the company I'm at now that we like to promote people until they quit. And it's like,
mm,
oh, you're a good mechanic. Well, I bet you're a good manager. It's like saying you're a great fish. You can swim really well. Now climb that tree. It's
yeah.
like those are two totally different different skill sets. So
Yeah, we talk about that in construction. It's like really great carpenters. It's like, all right, now it's time to be a super. It's like
yeah,
a good carpenter doesn't make a good super.
no,
You
no.
know, it
I mean,
like that.
they really need to teach people. You need to be a borderline psychologist slash babysitter to be a good super.
Yeah, it's I've met some really great supers in my career, and especially interviewing other people on this podcast and meeting with other builders. But I mean, some of the best supers, they just understand how to build, and they understand what it takes to get everyone to buy into what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
And there's guys that are out there that are bulldogs and aggressive and push 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 push, and then there's other guys that finesse. Like I walked
yeah,
the job a couple weeks ago, probably a $20 million project, and the super is literally just chilling, like in his office, feet up, like doing some paperwork, completely calm. And I look over the job, and there's 80 guys there, and they're all just finessing, going through the motion.
hmm
Projects on time, on budget, details are being executed.
yep,
It's like that's dope. Like that's
yeah.
how it should, that should like that everyone's bought in. They understand what the big picture is here.
Well, that's just it. And the thing that I see being a problem, especially with the bigger jobs, like I said, that's primarily what the company I work for now does is, casinos. Right now we're doing a neuroscience. It's actually 2 towers in New Haven. So, when you have these big multi-year jobs, you have these GCs and construction managers that are really more corporations than anything before. Whereas once upon a time, the guy who was in charge of the job had a flannel shirt on and just,
Hmm.
he'll still carry around like, a hammer just in case. And
Hmm.
now what we have is a team of these construction management degree holding kids who come
Hmm.
out to you with iPads and are looking at and pointing to the spec, and they don't really know what goes into it. And I just I kind of go back to that Mike Rowe thing that I think he had found on when he was doing that Deadliest Catch show, and he was saying that they were like no great captain didn't spend plenty of time on the deck. And it's like,
Hmm.
I understand that you may understand how to read specs and the contract and everything, but until you've spent some time in the shoes of people that you're trying to manage, I don't know. I don't know how you could do it effectively. You can't speak their language.
No, it's. I
I
mean,
I like I agree with that. I feel like everything's been put in place to get away from that, though. It's like the whole issue had with the mechanics and it being that you're peaking when you're 22 years old and there's not that much room for growth, and like to attract people to the trades is difficult, especially when it's like, well, you have to slog through all of this for 10 years, 15 years, and you have to grind and sweat and bleed, and then you can start managing people. And like I don't like I am a firm believer in that you have to understand from hands-on experience. There's always exceptions to the rule, but like most people have to come up through the ranks in order to understand how this all comes together and works. But it's like, I feel at what cost, because we are turning off so many people to the industry, and like what we're doing now and trying to legitimize everything and have construction managers and degrees and everything else is basically to try and attract people in, that it's like, hey, here's your avenue into the trades where you can still have a healthy lifestyle and you don't have to work like a dog and you can wear nice clothes and everything else. It's like it's tough to say like if it's good, if it's bad, but I do agree with you that it like I feel like you should have to have the experience to understand how to manage it.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you going to tell somebody to run, I use my industry as an example, but I mean, how are you going to tell somebody to run 4-inch conduit in a parking garage in the middle of winter if you've never done it yourself and you don't know what it is and how it's going to take longer because of the temperatures and the challenges that are there? You're going to be blindsided by so much because you're not fluent in that language.
Well, I'm like, I don't understand how kitchen designers design kitchens without ever installing a kitchen before. Like, to me, that is absolutely mind boggling, but that's like an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
I will say, and this is where I'll disagree a little bit, is that the you're speaking to like the broad nature of people, right? Like most people need to go through the motion to understand it. There are the rare case of people that could come out of school, have an understanding, and more importantly, have the respect for the trade doing it, where they're a little bit more humble.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that I was the most humble person coming out of school. I spent time in the trades, but I was a guy with a white hard hat and a clipboard. But I never went around pointing at something and saying you need to do this per spec. I just acted like, I don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. Let me ask you a question. You're the professional, and let me try to understand what you're doing and see how I can help.
Yeah.
My point there is that, yeah, I think that there's a lot of value to a kitchen designer going and installing kitchens, but it's not the end all be all solution to that. Would it help them? Most likely. Do they need it? No. There are other ways for them to catch up and primarily, rooted in the respect that they would have for the trades. The other side of this is that everything is more complicated and the level of expectation from the client side has 10x'd. So these project managers, it used to be a guy in a flannel shirt that would show up and just fucking work and get shit done. It's not that way anymore. It's, well, who's communicating back to the client, what got done today? Who's going to fill out the daily log and let us know exactly how many people worked and how many man hours were calculated, so we can then go and run a financial report to see where we stand on the budget. It's way more, there's way more reporting being done nowadays. And I think that's where, for my industry, that's where there's a lot of divide in the older generation and the newer generation, is that the newer generation is coming up in this world of client focused communication, really strong reporting, knowing, where the budget stands. And the older generation is, dude, I'm just getting work done. I'm here to build. Like, I hope I can make some money at the end, but I won't know until I finish the job. And even when I finish the job, I got to be on to the next one anyway. And it just perpetuates the issue. So I think, there's a lot to where we are as a society in terms of our level of expectation. And we're trying to counteract that with, putting more people in, that management side. And unfortunately, that management side is, there's a misconception that you are above the trade. Yeah. You are, there's this hierarchy, and that I strongly don't believe in.
No, you're absolutely right, and there are certainly the exceptions to the rule. And I've met some of these people, and they've been great. But I think that is somebody who's bright is going to do well no matter where they
Yeah.
are, right?
Yeah.
So that's just the type of person it's in their nature. But you're absolutely right, because when it comes to the reporting, they could clog you up with bullshit so quickly.
Yeah.
You need to have your daily logs done. What's your pre-task plan? And then don't even get me started with safety. I mean, they don't even allow ladders at this project I'm on now. You can't use ladders. I'm
I
like,
saw something like that recently where like you're not allowed to step on this height of the above this rung of the ladder. You have to use it this way, which is like a way unsafer manner. And it's like this is just silly at this point.
well, at what point do you stop putting the onus on the user? I mean, we're dealing with things that could cut limbs off all day. And at some
Mhm.
point, I mean, I understand that, look, safe is safe, and we're probably better for it. But I feel like we've overcorrected to the point now where uh, uh, we've kind of forgotten what we're actually supposed to do out there. And
Mhm.
sometimes I look around at the guys and the guys who I work with, I'm like, we actually used to build stuff once upon a time.
Yeah.
It's true. So what would happen if like the 20-some-year-old new site super project manager comes in with like a $700 pair of boots on? Brand new, like brand new.
Well, he's got to
Like
roll around a little bit,
get
but
the fuck out of here.
it's kind of funny though, because now, the channel has grown to a point where I like people recognize me on the jobs and like ask like personalized advice or something. And, so I kind of get that sometimes. People like, hey, yeah. What do you think of those? I got these. What do you think of this? And, it's kind of funny, because I think that people who are into this anyway, if you want this to be your profession and you're passionate about it, it's a typically male dominated industry, and men are usually into gear and
Mm.
gadgets and stuff like that. So naturally you're going to want to know what like the best boots are, the best jacket, the best whatever. And a lot of times it just becomes like a point of conversation. And I got to tell you, I've had some really good conversations with people who, when they're open to it, and not just like, I buy Thorogood because that's what I've always bought. I'm like, all right, that's
America.
good for you. Yeah, all
Yeah.
right, whatever. Maybe you should, just maybe entertain the idea that you could be wrong once in a while. But it's good because people are investing in themselves and their well-being. And there's nothing better than having a pair of boots that you almost don't want to take off at the end of the day. I mean, I wear these things when I get home, mow the grass until I go inside, and my wife makes me take them off outside. So, there's nothing better than that. That's totally worth it, in my opinion.
It's I do feel, and I'd like your insight, that it oftentimes like the people that appreciate those type of like heritage items like the boots, the handmade items, so often, like other than the people who are just into fashion or style, are the people who work with their hands for a living. Like the trade people understand what goes into it. And I feel like between them and the hipsters, they appreciate like the workwear so much. It's like you
Yeah.
either have like the people who actually work, me like, yo, I'm gonna buy a $200 pair of jeans because it's really nice denim, and it's gonna hold up and it's gonna last. And then you have like the people that I feel like work at like Urban Outfitters who also will be like, yeah, like I need the Carhartt, this, that, and the other thing, but I've
Mhm.
literally have never worked.
Yeah. And you know what? I get accused of that all the time too. People always like, hey, you never worked for a living. I'm like, you don't even know me, right? Like, and
Yeah.
honestly, if I hadn't, I mean, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem if somebody wants to wear this stuff and enjoy it. Like, if you are serving coffee all day, so what? You can't enjoy this nice stuff. Like, as a gatekeeper, somebody who's never done anything but worked in the blue collar world, I'm going to say it's fine. Like, I'll give everybody a pass. Like, you could totally wear whatever you want, whether it's Carhartt or work boots or whatever. You can totally enjoy it,
I
because if
think
you
I
like
might
well
draw the
made
line at the
things,
beanies. I feel
uh,
like it's
the
I
teeny
gotta
weeny
draw the line.
beanies.
I gotta draw the line somewhere.
But I gotta tell you, man, like I'm finishing up a job right now, or not job right now, a video right now where I bought 9 different work shirts. And I don't know about you. I mean, I'm wearing a t-shirt right now, but I always like the button up work shirts, I mean, having the pockets and stuff, and they look a little more dressed up. So I bought 9 of them just to compare them. And
Mm.
every company did them a little bit differently. And I gotta say, like, I still have a real soft spot for that classic, you know, like cotton button up work shirt that our shop teachers probably wore, or you saw in like This Old House or whatever. And I just don't think that stuff goes out of style. So, workwear are people who like to wear it for fashion. Fashion comes and goes, but this quality is going to endure and it's always going to be there. And it's like motorcycles back in the early 2000s. Like they were everywhere and people loved the chopper craze and now they look goofy. But I just don't think workwear ever changes all that much.
I mean, personally, like I just find workwear, I struggle with it because I like my clothes fitted. I don't need
Mhm.
to, my jeans don't need to be skin tight, but like I like a
Yeah, they
fitted.
do. They definitely do.
Listen, they don't need to be.
Yeah, but a lot of companies are catering to that now,
That was the issue I had with like, I know that Carhartt is like a massive brand, but I just like it never ever fit right. Even when like their overalls and everything just felt like I was swimming inside of them. And it's like, the other issue I have is that I do so many trades that just trash stuff even once it's not trashed, like paint or tile work where I get shit on them that doesn't come off. So I'm like, I just spent all this money on this nice workwear. And even if it's still holding up well, it looks like somebody spilled 8 buckets of paint on me. And it's like, I got to get rid of it at that point.
Yeah, but then you could just put it on eBay and sell for twice as much.
I could go to my wife's old work and sell it for like 4 times as much.
Yeah, I cannot believe what Carhartt Detroit jackets are going for now. You could buy them for $100, but you can easily sell one for $200 on eBay. And the more beat up it is, the more beat up it is, the better.
That's why I'm saving all my old Vans. I have them hanging from the trusses in my pole barn right now. But I bet you I could.
You probably could. Yeah, no doubt about it. But those old, I'm sorry, I just want to say one thing about the cut, right? Like the workwear cut. You got to remember that back in the day, workwear originally was denim, right? Mm-hmm. So denim was even Carhartt before they had the Carhartt brown stuff. All their stuff was available in denim. So their first jacket, their first overalls, everything like that. And then when the duck canvas came around, and they would dye it. It was because basically there was like an indigo shortage and everybody was using this brown dye and whatever. And back then there was like a ton of workwear companies. The oversized fit was so that you'd have some sort of mobility because it was such a rigid fabric that you couldn't move inside of it. It was like wearing a suit of armor. But now with the advent of stretch fabrics and even stretch Cordura, you'll find these 9 shirts that I'm talking about, like they all have a different approach, whether it's gusseting or stretch panels or just stretch fabric in general. You can get a closer fit and it actually moves with you. So this is a golden age of workwear compared to what it was even 10, 15 years ago, because like you, I'm used to that oversized, huge fit and it's not really necessary anymore.
I used to have Rachel get me like white jeans from Urban when she worked there, because like if I would go to the paint store and grab painter's jeans, they were like the widest uncut pants that you would ever find, just from like Sherwin-Williams. They're meant to be thrown away. But I bought a pair to wear once and I put them on and I have on Vans and I was like, these look like I'm wearing Jankos from 1995. Like I can't even do this. So she would get me white jeans whenever like they would have a sale at work. So for a while I'd get like the ripped jeans that were white that were on sale from Urban. I'd be like, I'll paint in these, whatever. At least they fit a little bit better.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's a different world now, though, and you have these like artisanal makers who will build anything you want, any size you want. But are you going to wear $400 jeans to work?
Yeah.
I mean, some people might, but
the other thing is, I feel like with like really high quality denim, you're not supposed to wash it.
You're not, right? Yeah. Well, you can. I think that the reason that people don't wash it is to maintain the indigo on it, because every time you wash it, you lose a little bit, right? So you get the fades, and there are a lot of people who are crazy about their fades and they won't wash them for a year. But I don't care how cool your jeans are. If they stink, nobody wants to know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, get away from me with those things.
I think there's definitely a difference between if you're working and your jeans are getting dirty and they're stained. And yes, of course, if they smell, like that's when you wash them.
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife about this the other night. I have a pair of the jeans I'm actually wearing, and they're green. And I don't know what we're talking about, but I was like, oh, I haven't washed these. I probably haven't washed these in 5 or 6 weeks. She was, that's disgusting. I'm like, do they look dirty? She's like, well, no. I'm like, they don't, and they also don't smell. So why would I wash them? It's like, I'm
As long
just
as you wear underwear.
Well,
I mean,
right? I mean, as long as your hygiene is up.
no comment. My hygiene is just fine. Obviously, I think they would smell if that wasn't the case. But when I was working, like if I'm in dirt and like I'm not bringing those home and then putting them back on the next day.
Yeah.
It's like,
not to mention, if you want to blow through your workwear real fast, don't wash it. Because all of that dirt and stuff acts like an abrasive, and on the like micro level, it's literally sanding through the fibers of your stuff. So when you get blowouts in the crotch or in the knee or whatever, it's probably because you're grinding dirt into them. So wash them, hang them dry, and they'll last for a long time. But people just kind of like getting back to what we were talking about in the beginning of this conversation. People don't really care to repair their stuff, nor do they want to even know how to do it or maintain their things. So back in the day, I remember having my grandmother, because I blew through the knee on a pair of flannel lined Carhartt jeans. And she's like, I'm going to have to just take the back pocket off and I'll make a patch out of it. And she did. She took one of the back pockets off and made a patch. And like, they lasted for another couple of years. You don't see that anymore.
It's true. Like I have a pair of dirt bike boots that like the soles are worn on them, but the boots aren't worn. Like they're they cost between $500 and $700 for a pair of boots that might last you 150 hours on the soles, and then like the boot is still held up, but I have to literally pack them and ship them to Minnesota, California to get resold because you can't find somebody local that's going to be able to do what they have to do to them. And I feel like back in the day it was like super common. I mean, even getting just clothes tailored to you and everything else, it's so hard to find somebody who knows how to do that and knows how to do that well. Everything's disposable now, and it's not just clothing. I mean, it's the world that we live in, which I think does open up the opportunity for somebody like you to really speak to these like heritage items and the importance of buying quality. I mean, it stands and really aligns well with what Nick and I and the podcast stand for and everything else, where it's like, if you have the opportunity to invest a little bit more money in something that's going to hold up and just really like treat you well, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. We're all a sort of victim of the Walmart effect of everything being cheap. Thanks to the global economy, everything is very, very affordable. But once upon a time, and for most of human history, it wasn't that way. I remember hearing a thing about how a jacket should cost somebody a month's wages, and they would kind of equate it to things like that, which sounds like a really kind of old school term. But once upon a time, you would save and you would buy something and you would take care of that thing. Instead, now with the Shein market, you just buy another one or two because you want them in a different color. And it's just, I don't want to ever come across as being disingenuous because I'm like literally sitting behind like dozens of boots over here. But I mean, it's being able to buy less, but buying better, fewer things is very freeing because having all that stuff in your closet or whatever, man, it starts cluttering up your mind too. It's just a terrible feeling. You ever just get rid of stuff? Like
it feels amazing.
You get a 30-yard dumpster and you fill it up and you're like, oh man, that's like a massage.
30-yard dumpster
filled with boots.
That's a lot. The only shitty part about having that many nice things, I always found that like those, especially when it comes to leather, whether it be a tool belt, a pair of boots, a belt, a jacket, where it's like it gets better the more that you wear it, and it's so exciting to wear it and get it to like break in and patina and everything else. And then when you start having like multiple nice pairs of boots, it's like, damn, I can't break these in fast enough. Or like, I want this one to be more worn in, but really the only thing you can do is just put the time into it. Even like my daughter's base softball glove, it's like, I want to more broken in. So we bought you an expensive leather glove. Like you can oil it, you can wrap it, you can beat on it with whatever you want, but like if you want to break it in the way it's meant to be break, you have to use it, you have to wear it, you have to like play
Mhm.
softball in it. And that's part of the allure to me and what I've always enjoyed about those items. It's like getting to enjoy them and them just consistently getting better the more that
Yeah.
you wear them.
Yeah. There's nothing better than that. You're absolutely right. And getting to that point it's a journey, but man, once you finally get there, it's amazing. And now
Even
I'm,
like,
with all these great things that I'm able to get and review, I have way too many. And so I'm starting to like give them to apprentices on the job and be like, here
yeah,
you go. Let me know what you think after 30 days. And then you get to keep them. And then you know what? That apprentice, like I just did one with a guy, Tyler is his name. And he was a veteran and he's a fourth year electrical apprentice. And, I was like, here, try out these 3 different pairs of boots. It was a pair of Knicks and a pair of Red Wings. And just let me know what you think. You get to keep all 3. And so in a way, it's kind of cool, like just to be able to give back. And I have a box behind me right now of Darn Tough's new work boot socks. And I'm going to go to the job because nobody wants to spend $25 on socks until they do. And then they realize how much better they
yeah.
are. And I'm just going to hand them out to people. Like, here you go. Check that. Here, try them out. See what you think. You know what I mean? And you get to give back in a way. I have more than enough stuff. I don't need any more stuff. I'd rather be able to kind of pass it on to people and maybe spread the word a little bit so they can enjoy that patina and that break-in process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, at how much of what you're doing, like obviously you have a full-time job right now, like would you look to transition to be more social, full-time? Do you always want to maintain like the electrical career? Do you have any ideas for where you want to take things?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to let go of the construction world. I'm no longer enjoying it the way I did. The most fun
Yeah.
I ever had was like in residential, but the money was in commercial. And so
Yeah.
I've done that for so long and things have changed so much as like I described earlier that I would like to try a new adventure. I mean, I've done this for over 20 years and I think it's time to try something new. So I hope to make that transition at some point, but I'm not quite ready yet. And I think that also maintaining a full-time gig allows me to be as honest as I am without having to worry about like pissing off a sponsor.
Yeah.
So I have to consider that a little bit more seriously. But ultimately, yeah, I would love to be able to transition to doing this full time.
Yeah.
I think
I've found that the more I do on that end of things, it's not, I, once you continue to do something for so long and you understand what makes it tick and like what makes you tick and you understand the ins and outs, it's like you need to be challenged with something else or something else needs to spark your interest. You want to be able to grow more, and I think it is nice having both things where you have your day job, you have the consistent money coming in, and it allows you enough freedom to do things on your own terms. And I
Mhm.
often wonder if it weren't that way and it's like this is my full-time gig, it's I would probably imagine it's similar to when you first went into business for yourself where you get hungry and you take what you can and do what you have to do to pay your bills. And
Yeah.
that for me would be the fear where it's like the reason why I enjoy doing this is because it's not what's paying my bills and I'm not tied to it and I'm not married to it and it's on my own terms, my program, my schedule. And if that were to change, would I feel the same way about it?
Yeah. Very good point. I think though, the beginning of what you said rings true with me. I'm ready for new problems, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm used to the same old problems, and every job is just the same thing. It seems like more and more. So it's getting stagnant, and you're
Well,
probably right.
it's when those challenges like don't require as much of your cognitive effort as just like time suck effort that it gets to be frustrating where it's like damn, I'm not having to actually figure this out. I'm just having to like move pieces and I can almost go through
complete the
this in my
task.
sleep. Yeah, but
Mm,
it's like it's pulling me. I want the problems where it's like I don't know the solution to this and I actually have to figure this out and that's a challenge for me that like really helps grow me and keeps me invigorated and keeps me um like honed in on what I'm doing. I feel like it gets to a point with a lot of our careers where it's like it's the same problem wearing different clothing another day, and all the solutions are the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend, we were just talking about this. And there are some people who are just always restless. They're never comfortable. They're always looking, as soon as they get really fluent with something, they want to be uncomfortable doing something else because,
Yeah.
to your point, that's like the polishing of the stone with friction. You kind of need to do that to be able to grow. So when you start to get to the point where you're just coasting, it's like, nah, I need another challenge. I'm ready to kind of go back up to bat and give this another shot.
Yeah, I'm sure at this point I've had my business. It'll be 14 years here shortly, and like 20 years. It's a long time to be doing something.
Yeah.
Regardless of if your tasks or role within that industry have changed, like that's a long time to be exposed to one industry.
Right. Right.
Do
I
you think
often
that your focus will stay around workwear?
I think so. That's my history, and that's what I think. I always think back to myself in my work van when I was looking for new work pants, and all I could find was advertisements. And I always feel like I'm talking to that guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so cutting through like the marketing bull and being able to act as a service to people. I don't see a whole lot of guys doing that. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's like it's always there's some bent to it. It's either marketing or whatever, but nobody's really doing this right now. So I think that's the lane that I want to take. Plus, it's kind of a weird combination if you think about it. Like somebody who's been working like a blue collar job for 25 years now, if you consider my time as a mechanic, who also wants to make videos on YouTube about it. Like it's kind of a weird combination, like it, it's I don't see a whole lot of competition or people who want to take up the mantle of doing this. So I think I found my
it's a
niche.
small market, like, and that's the same thing with our podcast where our numbers are good, but when you look at it comparatively speaking to the podcast industry, like we're just hitting such a small crowd, and it's so specific that you have to keep that in mind. And like your crowd and your market, it's such a niche market and there's such a need for it, and it's just ensuring that everyone understands the value in that like you're probably never going to have the numbers that these other channels are going to have, just because you're speaking to like such a small group of people. And how
Yeah.
many people outside of that market are going to be like, I want to sit down and learn about this workwear because I'm in IT. It
Right.
just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I think the more people who enter the job market, and luckily there's a bigger push for the trades, the more people who are going to need that information. So, uh, to your point, it's like fishing in a small pond. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if you own that pond, then that's okay.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
ever care to be like the next Mr. Beast or anything like that. But
Imagine if you were just all workwear competing with Mr. Beast.
what happened to my camera? My camera. Oh, there we go. I don't know what happened
Uh,
there.
now you're on your webcam.
Yeah, I see that.
No, it's true.
What kind of shoes are those? Right there.
Which ones? Oh, back here.
Yeah.
These are so these are a pair of Alan Edmonds Odenwalds. They don't make these anymore, but these were
Dope.
actually
Those
kind
are
of
dope.
yeah, these are cool, right? Little 5-inch kind of chukka style.
Mm.
These were one of the first ones that I got that really like made me go, ooh, wow, that's pretty nice. And I always
That's
keep
the
them.
hardest. Speaking personally, that's the hardest boot I've struggled with, because I don't always need a full work boot, and my Knicks are 8-inch. Are they 8-inch? Or maybe they're I think they're 8. And but I had a Chukka style, and I had the Red Wing Weekenders, which I was like, oh, these are awesome. But I mean, they don't last on a job site. Like, I'm not on a job site every day, but even walking around a job site with dirt and rock, it's like they got destroyed. And then I
Yeah.
end up buying I forget what they were, but they were a Chukka style, but they were more of a work boot.
Mhm.
And they're just super uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough too, because sometimes you have to of course, listen to the safety requirements and abide by those. So
Yeah.
you can't wear something like that. But, I was actually in our warehouse for 3 weeks, just more or less going through doing QA, QC on our panels and ensuring that we have everything. And it was to, match the shop drawings. And I didn't have to wear my safety stuff. So I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to wear some of these other boots. And so I had a pair of Russell moccasins that weren't safety toe or anything like that. And I was like, oh, cool. Good time to like try these things out. And they were great. It was wonderful to be able to wear those and not have to worry about, the weight of a steel toe and all that crap. But yeah, safety's number one. You got to be safe.
It is also important to be able to like, I I found that I used to spend so much more time prior to making a purchase, like trying to justify that purchase or do my research on like what is a quality product. And it's so hard now to find accurate, like bipartisan or like just accurate information that's honest on the internet. It's so hard right now that I almost don't even, I just like get what I want to get and assume that it's going to be shit and I'm going to be replacing it. It like,
Yeah, I do.
It's so hard. Like if I were to able to find where like there was your YouTube channel where it's like, hey, if you want to be purchasing this, here's open, honest reviews about this, the pros, the cons. I think it is super useful, and there's definitely a market for that. Because I've found that it's so hard right now. Like you would think it would be so much easier to just go find information about this crap, but everything's just like a marketing grab, and money backing it. That it is really difficult to find the accurate information that you need. And like I'm looking at it from the point of view of where it's like I ride dirt bikes. So a lot of times it's like, hey, I need a new helmet. I need new boots. I need a new chest protector. Like what's the best? And other than a couple of websites that sell this stuff, it's other people that they give it to online doing a YouTube channel review where it's like, you're not really giving me anything here. I don't know if I want to spend $700 on this.
Yeah. The good thing is that people are really becoming savvy. They can smell BS like right away, and they know when you're being disingenuous. So I think people are the consumer is becoming much more savvy, and they know when they're being sold to, and a lot of times that can also be kind of misconstrued too, right? Like if I'm really excited about a product, it could almost sound like I'm pushing it, right? Because I'm just like really jazzed about something. So I try to temper that a little bit. But you're absolutely right. It's almost impossible to tune in now and find something that's not an ad. And I got to tell you, man, like if a company approaches you with, 5 figures to promote something, it's not as easy to say no as people might think.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to be honest about it.
I mean, the other side, like there's two sides to that where when you are excited and you're trying not to come off as you're pushing a product, you might be pushing the product, but you might also authentically love this product and think it's the best thing you've ever done. And and on the flip side, it's like, yeah, someone offers you 5 figures. It's like, okay, well, I'll take the money, I'll promote it in an authentic way. And maybe you're less than excited about it, but you'll still talk honestly about it. It's still you promoting it. And it's not so much like, hey, I kind of like this product. It's, Carl, is talking about it, so it must be legit because he spent his last decade of his life, only talking about great quality stuff.
Right.
Like the other thing to consider is that so many companies that I work with or products that I use, like every product, every company, everything's going to have issues. Not everything's perfect. It's going to work better for you than it does for me, vice versa. But like so much of my basis for what I'm doing and who I'm working with is based on the people who I know within that company or the help that I've gotten when something has gone wrong. So I always keep that in mind where it's like, yeah, this product works good for me. Maybe it doesn't work good for you. Maybe you don't have a need for it. But as a whole, this company has stood behind everything that I purchased from them. If I've had an issue, they fixed it. Whether you're getting paid or not, like to me, the relationships that I have and the products that I want to stand behind so often are not necessarily based on that specific product, but the company as a whole, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and when you have relationships with people who you genuinely like at these companies, um, and they've done something right, but then it goes through a management change or they get bought out or
Yeah.
whatever, your content still exists out there, like promoting this stuff when the company could have completely gone to shit. And so you have to kind of worry about that too, right? I mean, it's the internet, the stuff lasts forever. So, um, what was true yesterday may not be true today, but how are you ever supposed to know that? It's a
Yeah.
slippery slope, man. And I think that we're all still feeling it out and figuring out how to do this the best way we possibly can. But I always think that talking about the facts, and then offering enough information that somebody can make the best choice for themselves and
Yeah.
their needs is the best thing to do. Because here in New England, what I need, it might not be what somebody needs in Arizona or in Canada. So what I think is a downside, you might think is an upside. And so I try to, as long as I can give you the facts, you can make the decision for yourself. And,
Yeah.
that typically has worked out so far.
I think that's a good angle to take and a good vantage point where it's like, I'm just going to put out the facts and how they relate to me. And then it's on you. I'm not going to tell you that this is for you or to buy this or that this is going to suit your needs. It's like, no, this is what it does. This is what it may not do. And this is why I like it. And at that point, it's like, I feel I can hang my hat on that at that point. And like, if the company and management changes a year from now, 2 years from now, and it's different, like, so be it.
Yeah.
Like I made my judgment at that point. And it may not always be the case, but I don't know. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do at that point. But, I just went through this same thing with the video that's coming out this week, where there's a pair of Red Wings that are waterproof. And the problem with a waterproof boot is that they don't really breathe as well. So depending, do you need a breathable lightweight boot, or do you need something that has a waterproof sock liner in it because you're always in the muck? That's two totally different
Yeah.
perspectives. And if somebody buys it thinking that they're going to be light and airy for their roofing job, and then their feet are sweating at the end of the day, that's not who this is meant for. So give them the information, the accurate stuff that they need to make the best decision and to treat them like an adult. And usually it seems to work out.
I don't know how people wear insulated boots and if you're not working outside.
Yeah, I don't either.
I like that. I cannot, even if I'm outside, oftentimes I don't want to wear insulated boots. I don't know if I just have extremely hot feet. I just find them like very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'd rather vary the sock and use
Yeah.
the same boot for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I just like any boot that I've had that has anything but leather on the inside. And they've been nice boots. I just feel like they don't hold up. They get nasty. Like they break in and they pack out and they don't mold to your foot. And like you don't have to spend a ton of money to get an all leather boot. It's not like there's boots out there that'll fit the bill for, a couple $100,
Sure.
where I don't think you need to spend $700. But I learned early on that it's like I'm a huge advocate for a leather sole, the entire insides of the boot being leather and not having like canvas or insulated foam material on the inside.
Yep. Or Celastic or plastic that they'll use. And you're absolutely right. That's one of the keys to having boots that eventually feel like slippers, because leather, let's say your pinky toe, you have a wide foot, it's rubbing against the Celastic toe piece. Well, plastic is never going to yield to your skin.
Yeah.
It's going to stay there and it's going to give you blisters. Whereas leather, given a little bit of heat and moisture, it's going to form to your foot over time. And that's why great boots become more comfortable in time. And then when you have them resold, you still have the comfort because they've been broken into your foot and they're better. The problem is that those interior components cost a lot more. So, you want to go with cheap stuff. That's what you're going to get.
I remember I bought a pair of boots that were all leather that were like too tight on me. I got a decent sale price on them. But I was like, it took me so long to break them in because of the pinky toe thing. And I'm just like, I know I'm going to get through this and the leather's going to stretch. And they finally did. They were not my size, but I will definitely stand behind the fact that eventually they're going to break in to fit your feet. I don't think it was worth like $100 that I saved at the end of the day, but I was like, I'm going to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, you could break it into a point. And the military way, I mean, as I've learned, is they would soak their boots in water
Yeah, or
and
like
then
get in the
put them on
shower
all
with
day.
your boots on.
Right? Yep. Yep. And it accelerates that process. It's called wet forming, and it's the way they make like gun holsters and stuff. If you
They
want
would
something
just
to,
soak them in water and put them on and wear them.
yeah, yeah, that's what they
It's
would say they would do. I'm like, that sounds like
terrible.
Blister City. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly, though, it's the way to accelerate. I wouldn't recommend it. It sounds like a nightmare for mildew and blisters and all that stuff. But I guess if you're in the military, go for it.
I mean, it can't be that much different than you working in a boot all day and like sweating in it. And you're like, dude, if you wear a boot all day, how much moisture do you think your foot is letting off where it's like not getting out?
Water
over the lifetime of the boot?
Lifetime, that's different.
I mean, yeah, you're essentially just like accelerate, like you said.
Your water does a glass hold over its lifetime.
You're accelerating the break-in process.
Oh,
it's
no,
probably like
I
months worth of wear and moisture all at once.
No,
I think he's asking more of a philosophical question.
Yeah,
what you need to start looking into like Western wear and saddles. I bet you there's some sick like leather saddle companies.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that's true, man. And it's all going back to the same thing, right? Like that leather does get better, and I'm sure that people who sit in saddles all day will tell you the same thing. That it just takes time and wear, and it'll get great after a little while. But yeah, I mean, the Western thing is something I haven't really dug into, just because I'm a Yankee, and I think that I can't talk about things that I don't know about.
We're gonna have to get Cody from Wrangler Nation or whatever on Wrangler Star.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that guy's cheese has slid off his cracker. He has some really wild ideas now. So,
well, the first thing I looked up when I was trying to Google his name, because I was like, it said like something along the lines as like Cody from Wrangler Star like falling off his rocker or something, but I didn't get into more of the article than that.
He used to do a whole
when
bunch
did
of stuff.
Cody Wrangler Star start going off the deep end?
He did. He really did, though. He has a lot of conspiracy theory kind of stuff now. I think he spent a little too much time alone, but he used to do stuff about workwear and tools and like how to make your own axe handle, and then it slowly became like a
Western wear. You need to stick away from.
Yeah, dude, I'm going east. I'm gonna hang out by the shore. Maybe I'll go up to Maine or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Now I'm looking it up.
Yeah,
I want to look him up. I got to check him out some more. I was just looking at some articles real quickly with him, but I didn't pull up much more than that. But it didn't seem that the internet had too much fond stuff to say about him. But look, that's something you have to look forward to.
Oh, great. Awesome.
a few years from now, they'll be like, what happened to Carl? He spent too much time with his boots.
Yeah. Oh, God, we can only hope.
Carl, I got one last question for you. In terms of like the future of workwear and especially hearing that that's something that you want to continue focusing on, what are you most excited for? And part B would be, what are you nervous about?
I've been privy to a lot of inside information, which I've even had to like sign NDAs about, which like with these companies developing products. But speaking in broad generalities, there's a lot of great tech fabrics that are coming down the line, which are not necessarily impervious to wear, but are going to offer kind of everything that you want. And so we're seeing a little bit of that with like Cordura and some of those materials. 1620 Workwear is doing a great job of pushing the medium and trying new things and come out with stuff. I think as that stuff becomes cheaper, because it's it's a new technology, yeah. Right. But as it starts to become a little bit cheaper and people start to accept it and a wider market, we're actually going to have stuff that is way more comfortable, way more durable, and probably lasts a lot longer. So that's what I'm excited for. I think that's coming sooner than we think, because these companies are really toying around with some cutting edge stuff where you would only see that with like Arc'teryx and Patagonia and North Face in the past. Well, now that is coming to workwear, so that's really, really cool. But
I was gonna say, what are you afraid of or nervous or frustrated with
Mm. Yeah, the companies that are simply marketing firms trying to
Yeah,
push a product.
yeah. You've alluded to one of them a couple
Yeah,
times this
yeah.
podcast, and are you legally not allowed to say their name?
I don't. I got a cease and desist.
Nice.
Um, so I can't really. I don't
And
want
it's
to.
not Red Bull.
No, no, no.
Red Bull.
Yeah, but there are a lot of companies like that one that we're alluding to,
Is
who are
that?
simply
So I said last question, but because you brought it up, and
it's a one A.
without prying, was that like, did that all stem out of your own research and just being frustrated with the product and then going down a research rabbit hole, or was there an underlying like frustration with it prior to that?
No, I think you know what I get protective and uh probably a little bit too defensive of workwear in general. And
Hmm.
I really get upset with people who talk about it or market something that they don't really understand in order to make a buck.
Got it.
Because I've been that guy who's been duped by companies who have done that in the past. And I'm like, at that time I was making $13 an hour as an apprentice. I couldn't afford to make those mistakes, yet there I was. And so I think that, that 22-year-old whatever comes out sometimes, and I have this really violent reaction to companies who I feel like are out to do harm, especially to working people like
Mm,
myself who just don't have the time to do the research. And to fool somebody like that who maybe doesn't have the most disposable income
yeah.
feels like really, really, it rubs me the wrong way. So yeah, when I start seeing that happening with the company, I kind of get a little vicious and maybe a little bit too personally involved.
Well, if you guys want to know what company we're talking about, you can sign up for our. Carl, I
Yeah,
appreciate you being on, man. I think what you're doing for, our industry and workwear in general is really cool. And, like Tyler alluded to, it's so aligned with the way we operate as individuals and as businesses, where it's, paying for good quality is always, the better investment, when you map it out. So
yeah,
for that, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
yeah. Dude, well,
absolutely.
thank you so much for having me on, man. Good luck with your water between the rock and a hard place. I saw today on your stories the foundation with the rock and the drainage and the curtain drain you got to put in there, whatever that is.
It'll
That
be
sounds like
fine.
fun.
It'll be fine.
It's a
Listen,
water feature.
You just
that's
hang
actually, I
some
mean,
just hang some leather on the foundation. You'll be good.
It'll form to the
it'll
foundation.
it'll mold and be waterproof. It
Oh,
won't
it'll
be
mold all
waterproof.
right. It'll mold all right. Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's actually a great project that is exactly what we're talking about. There's no compromise. We're doing everything, to the extent that we can to provide the very best and it's the same conversation. It's like, why would anyone pay that much money for that product? It's like,
Yeah.
because it's better.
Yeah.
And here's why it's better.
Yeah. We all want to find that intersection of price and quality,
Mhm.
uh, which where the sweet spot is, and it exists in everything.
I just wish I could make 100% markup on it.
You got to start making boots, man.
Fair enough.
Sell a lot of boots.
Yeah.
Sell a lot of boots.
Carl, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
We will certainly catch up. Probably have you back on the podcast here in the near future. And until then, I'll chat with you online.
Yeah, anytime. And if you guys are ever in Connecticut, feel free to stop by. It's a little messy around here, but you're welcome anytime.
Will do.
Thanks, man.
Take care, guys.
Guys, Carl is so super cool. I found him. I don't even know how I stumbled across him. Probably through the work boots and stuff. But super knowledgeable and just right to the point. Gives you the good, the bad. His opinion on it. I reached out to him about a particular boot company I was considering, buying boots from, and he said, "Listen, as a boot, they're great. As a company, here's what I don't like about them. Would I buy them? Yes." And it was good to just get like, genuine, honest feedback. But I think that, a lot of us can take, the lessons from buying high quality product, and instill that in our business, and I want to call attention to that, because we as contractors, builders, tradespeople, we want to be paid a premium for what we're doing because we're providing great work. And I think this is where it needs to relate to what you're doing. If you're going to be selling a premium product, then you need to be working with premium products and premium trades and paying your team a premium. It goes through and through, and that's a big reason why it's like, then you should be wearing a good quality boot, you should be driving a good quality vehicle, using good quality tools, and so on and so forth. I think it's kind of one of those things where it's all encompassing. um, it's similar to, I think websites come to mind, because a lot of us are like, oh, I'll just build my website myself. It's like, why? That's not what you're good at. You're good at building. Well, it's just a website. It's like, sure, but hire the professional to do it the right way. Um, I think there's a lot to take away from this podcast, but we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you head over to iTunes, drop us a review. We appreciate that. 5 stars keeps us in the ranking for #1 construction related podcast. And yeah, Contractor Coalition Summit, September. I should have the dates open, but I don't while I'm sitting here recording. But yeah, the Contractor Coalition Summit is coming to Boston September 27th through the 30th. So that's Brad Levitt from the AFT podcast, Morgan from Construction to Style, and Tyler has joined us. This will be our 6th. We just sold out our biggest event ever in Minnesota. But this event coming in September will be in Boston. We're going to tour some of my projects, so you get to see some of those projects firsthand, including our 45 White Oak project. And if you want more information, contractorcoalitionsummit.com. Make sure you register. Tickets are already more than a third sold out. Every event has sold out. If you do register, you can either pay for the full ticket price up front, or you can put $1,000 down to secure your spot, and then we can work out a payment plan leading up to that conference. And if you're a vendor that's looking to sponsor, we have a ton of sponsorship opportunities. Just reach out to us. Let us know what you want to do, and hopefully see you in Boston.